My name is CFO Yagi. Let me just touch on the numbers. And then after that, in terms of the progress with the medium-term plan, Mr. Ogawa will explain. So first, in terms of numbers. So the second quarter highlights is what's shown here on this slide. Cumulative numbers in terms of net sales, 16.4 billion, 32.2% increase year-on-year. OP, 3.2 billion, year-on-year growth of close to 90%. We're maintaining high growth, and in terms of profit, there's a substantial increase on operating profit. In terms of KPI, the average take rate is 29%. Fill rate is 86.2%. Again, continuing with a very high level. At the bottom, transaction volume, active client accounts, and transaction volume per active account are shown below. I will just omit these portions. And on this slide, second quarter standalone basis and also year-to-date second quarter numbers. Details are shown there. And also on KPI for second quarter standalone, and outlook for the third quarter is also mentioned on this slide. I will touch on this later, but for the second quarter standalone, sales was 7.81 billion, 28% increase, and operating profit was 1.85 billion, and that's up 60.8%, OP margin 23.7%. It is the record high operating profit margins, and the profit has shown a substantial increase. And cumulative numbers, as mentioned earlier. For KPI, I will be touch on them later on. For the third quarter results, we're expecting 8.4 to 8.55 billion range in terms of sales. So the growth-wise, 27.8 to 30%. Operating profit is expected to be around 1.75 and 1.77. And in terms of growth, 61 to 64%. And OP margin between 20.6 to 20.7. So for the third quarter, a high growth rate will be maintained, and profit-wise, year-on-year increase expected. So for second quarter alone, and this is on Q-on-Q basis, and there's actually the difference between the actual results and the forecast. And both sales and profit, but first sales, we've actually undershot the lower bound of the expectation. The main reasons, because as we've been explaining, the unauthorized use measures, and usually February to March, and a lot of companies, the fiscal year end it's the timing of the fiscal year end for many of the customers. So especially for the food and restaurant industries, because of that, the usage level tends to fall because they are tightening their cost. So there was a sort of growth slowdown. But OP margin was actually exceeded the range by 151 million. This is because despite the fact the sales range was below, but the cost-wise, because of the lower job offering, we've been lowered the cost side, so that in addition to that, we have been carrying out the disciplined investment and spending. So therefore, we are able to see the upshoot to our range numbers. This is for your reference. And for each of the items, we are showing the sort of flow chart for each of the items that I just explained. In terms of the outlook, as was in the summary, in terms of sales and OP, they will continue to grow, and profit is expected to grow substantially. Just on the details, And this is the graph as explained. In terms of the progress, 46.1% to the sales to the full year, and for the operating profit, it's growing to 89%. So in terms of the profit, first and second quarter, first quarter was a busy season for us, and cost increases because of that. So the margin is weighted heavily on the second quarter. And so first half, as we finish, we're showing a very steady progress to the full year. And this is something that I explained, so I will skip this slide. And from this year, we are showing the trend by industry that we work on, and logistic, food, retail, and others. And for logistics, relatively speaking, has been steady, and even in this quarter has been very strong. As explained here, because we are carrying out some of from last year, we're starting to see to lower the burden of onboarding. And with the trials going on, we're seeing the track record. And so that in the second half, we will have the better numbers coming through. And last year, take rate because of a decline because of the campaign for the volume discount, but that has been closed. So therefore, in the second quarter, it recovered. And for the food industries, year-on-year growth was negative for the second quarter. And the reasons, as I explained. And so we will continue with the follow-ups, sales follow-up, and we're trying to expand more of the customer base. And food industry is being challenging. However, we are starting to see signs of recovery now, and we see a good trend going forward. And in April, we released and Business Alliances Watami, the new business model. We are going to sort of expand the customer base. As for the retail sector, like logistics, it's been very steady and strong. Convenience stores, supermarkets. In addition to that, there are other subsectors, and we are expanding the client base. For others, hotel, elderly care, they're very solid. Especially for elderly care, it doesn't have the seasonal fluctuations. We are accumulating our sort of business record accordingly. And in terms of the actual numbers, I will explain in the slides to come. But in terms of the transaction volume, food sector was negative, but logistics and retail a steady trend. And on the take rate side, as explained, 29.1%. First quarter was below 29, but now we are back up to above 29% level. Especially on the right-hand side, as you can see, the logistics side, we're seeing the sort of, getting back to the previous level. And in terms of net sales, it's a trend is same as the transaction volume. And I mentioned earlier for food that it was a negative growth, but the factors there, as we've been explaining, is that in FY23, it was just a retrenchment in FY24. And in the second half of this year, we've seen a sort of soft trend. The main reason is the cost has been high for them, and they are trying to contain the cost. And so they sort of refrain from using our service. And on the other hand, the second point, year-on-year growth, we are seeing the signs of recovery or reversal. And so the labor shortage is a chronic factor. So we've been following up and also giving proposals, and we are also trying to expand the customer base. And these are actually bearing fruit, is what we're seeing. And so after lapping over a year, I think the growth slowdown has concluded. So the sign of recovery is seen, and we hope that we'll see the margin and the profit should sort of rebound in the food sector.
The number of active client accounts as well, it is growing as well, especially in logistics and retail. They are the drivers. In terms of the number of active client accounts, the situation remains unchanged. And the transaction volume per AA, we are seeing good signs here. From a while ago, year-on-year negative trend was observed, and this time around, it is -4.1%, but the negative has been shrinking. And top right portion, as you can see with the orange chart, year-on-year growth rate over the past 12 months, things are moving in improvement directions. So in order to increase the transaction volume by account, we'd like to continue implementing aggressive sales activities in order to deliver positive year-on-year growth in the transaction volumes. Changing a gear in terms of the core workers, on this front, there is no significant change in trend. 55% is the core worker ratio. This is a record high level. In addition to that, the fill rate, in terms of the fill rate as well, we are at the highest level. 87.9% is the fill rate we have reached. On a year-on-year basis, 0.4 point improvement has been achieved. So we are in good shape on this front as well. In terms of the cost, these are the split of the costs. The OP margin has improved significantly, and HR cost as well on a year-on-year basis, 0.5 point improved. Productivity gains have been achieved in a steady manner. On the marketing front as well, overall, year-on-year improvement has been observed. And in a steady manner, we have been continuing with the disciplined investments. In terms of the allocation, worker marketing has been shrunk, and client marketing as well, and has been reduced, considering the impact of the measures against unauthorized use. And last year, we spent higher costs on the trial efforts. We'd like to make sure we are selective in what measures we will continue, and 1.3% point outsourcing cost improvement was achieved year-on-year basis. And this is just for your reference. Regarding Timee business, Trump tariff impact, and when the economic slowdown actually happens, what could be the implications on our business? In conclusion, there is almost no impact from the tariff. There is no direct exposure. And logistics, retail, and logistics, they are basically domestic customers, and we are capturing the domestic demand mostly. So there is no direct impact on the profit and revenue. And there could be some impact on the top line revenue side because of the macroeconomic slowdown. And if there is a reduction in the restaurant demand, while people are eating inside the house, that means the retail business will go up. So the negative impact will be partially compensated in the profit as well. Marketing may be reduced if the top line sales reduce. So even if there is a slight decline in the revenues or net sales, we will be able to hit the operating profit target in our view. That is all for the financials. Next, Ogawa will take you through the progress we have had against the midterm plan. I will take you through the strategies and actions we will take in a bit to hit the midterm targets. We are focused on a non-linear growth, so we are expanding horizontally and vertically and diagonally. For the vertically expansion, we are expanding the working opportunities, and for the horizontal expansions, we are covering more industries, and we are expanding the usage with the existing clients as well. For the diagonal direction, it is important to secure the human resources to increase the fill rate. So with these three as the pillars, we'd like to generate continuous growth, and leveraging the asset, we are creating new businesses, and these are the pillars of our midterm plan. Against the backdrop, there are competitors coming into this market. We are well aware of that, but continuously we have been able to build strong position. Timee boasts high fill rate because people are registering on our platform, and the performance of the workers are highly evaluated. There are accumulated data, good and bad reviews that we have received. And based on those reviews, people are coming to our platform. And in addition to that, we are providing thorough sales support. 677 sales representatives are providing thorough support to cater to the specific needs of each industry. As a result, we have been able to build an overwhelmingly strong position. As you may know, we have started collaborating with Watami, and this is a business alliance with Watami. Well, in the izakaya area, we have been our service has been utilized by them, and the subway license was obtained by them. And with this as a trigger, we have started the collaborations, and they are looking to expand the store footprint to 3,000 stores in the future. And what we are doing, where we are supporting in Subway, well, in Shimbashi, we have a restaurant, and based on the track record, we'd like to leverage our know-how further. The Akachochin is the restaurant, single store we operate. All of the part-timers are spot workers. This is the concept encapsulated, and this model has been adopted for the past 2 years. Shimbashi is the area which is difficult to attract people, but there is no reduction in working hours and reduction in the number of customers because of the insufficient matching. Average fill rate is 94%, and repeat workers ratio is very high as well. And the rate from spot workers is 99%. And onboarding manuals were successfully created. And whenever the jobs are posted, the spot workers, 192 workers are in the Akachochin's favorite list. These are the key indicators that are the testament to the success stories we have had. Based on this success, there are 3 patterns, pattern A, pattern B, and pattern C, that we are employing. Let me elaborate on this. So the ordinary timey usage is considered as pattern C. The spot workers and long-time part-timers, they are directly hired by Watami. So the head of the store is the employee of Watami. Pattern B, on the other hand, all of the workers are spot workers. As I mentioned earlier, this is the Akachochin model, all-timey worker store management model. Well, except for the store manager, all the other workers are spot workers. Pattern A is the new pattern that we are introducing. Store manager and workers, all of them are timey workers. So the timey is the employer. So this is what we call full-timey, all-timey store management model. Through these efforts and initiatives, stores will be managed by all-timey workers. There were some concerns by the customers expressed on the social networking site with regard to this, but as a matter of fact, we have been involved in the training, programming, leveraging all the know-how that we have been able to accumulate with Akachochin. We would like to make sure we provide thorough training, and the workers who have acquired necessary skills will be matched and will be working. So it's not that the first-time workers with no experiences are going into the store. So how the timing will be leveraged, we have clarified that point. And those workers coming into the stores, the satisfaction level of the workers is exceeding 99%. So we believe that this model has been working quite well at this point in time.
This type of model is increasing. I think hopefully that this will be a new model for the restaurant industry. So we'll try to increase the number of people who want to work there. So those who cannot operate for 24 hours, or there are so many lost sales opportunities by the restaurant operators. We hope that we as a Timee can contribute to enhance such situation, to sort of alleviate such situations. So when we want to sort of expand our business to other industries, so let me touch on hotel and the elderly care industries. For hotel industries, this is the off season, so year-on-year sales will be look lower, but even then it's 28.6% increase. So it's a steady growth there for the hotel industry transaction volume. As for the elderly care industry, there are no busy or off for peak seasons. So year-on-year, 165.5% increase. It is the fastest growing industry for us. So we've changed the unit price. So it will be the fourth pillar as after retail and logistics and food industries. So our mission is to expand into this area and to expand to other industries that we plan to engage in, hoping you look for us to expand further. And in terms of the area strategy, the alliance with the municipal government, with the 23 prefectures over a lot of companies, a lot of sort of municipalities. For Okinawa, we have announced alliance with a local company there in Okinawa to make sure we're rooted in that community and industries. And that is the essence of sort of alliance and partnership with local government and trying to expand our sort of smaller customer base. And we are trying to sort of intense rollout in certain areas so that the whole town can use, will be using Timee. So not only acquisitions, but for the following the existing customers. So over 90% SMEs that accounts for 90% of Japanese companies, we would like to sort of start basically penetrate these areas as well. And in terms of the evolvement of the product development-wise, one example is a shared list within the company, customers. When you had store A, B, C were using Timees, and if there are workers who work more than once, there is a pool of workers. So if it's a chain operator, then there are stores that have not used Timee workers. So those who receive the high good rating can be used sort of function that you can use only have like the one with a good rating. And so for the first time matching, we're trying to avoid mismatching or the cancellation or churn out. If it's a chain operator, we can basically, because they have the pool of all these stores, and the stores that haven't used can actually use Timee workers. This is the function that we're providing for them. And because we have accumulated worker data that allows us to be able to do so, and going forward, within the company or within the industry, sharing human resources is something that we would like to try to sort of set up. And for the logistics industries, which is growing nicely for us, as we've been discussing, trying to reduce the burden of the onboarding, it's been working well. And in one location, if they're accepting job offering of 100, you can't accept all 100 people, to basically explain where the toilets are, like try to explain the work descriptions. So the fill rate wasn't increasing. But recently, because of the project to lessen the burden of worker onboarding, we would have these leader employees we actually dispatch from our side. And this person will actually handle the onboarding of timely workers. Doing so, then to reduce the burden of that particular location. So that's been working quite well for us. So not only utilizing our spot workers or the repeater workers' productivity, and because someone, the leader, employer, someone who can help with the onboarding, that penetration of time it will be enhanced even further. In fact, as we try on this, we are starting to see the results. For example, for the major logistics company, year on year per location, job offering has increased by 3.3 times. In the past, it used to be that who's going to handle the onboarding responsibility, but because of the service now, they're allowed to be able to accept more. And even for the others, the year-on-year total job opening increased by 2 times, even if it's an off-peak period. Because of the project the program we are offering, they are willing to actually put on more job openings. So this is a success of this burden of worker onboarding reduction, but it's likely to go on to other areas. So 40 locations, we've got an agreement. And out of that 20 location, really want to start this project to reduce burden of worker onboarding. So it will actually contribute to actually enhance our business as well as theirs. Some new findings for us. And that is the progress we have for the medium-term plan. Number-wise and in terms of business update, if there's any questions, I would take your question. Thank you. And we would like to move on to Q&A sessions. Would appreciate if you could put your company name first and your name. And please click the raise hand button to ask question. Because we have simultaneous translation ongoing, so would appreciate your question be concise, please. Anyone with questions, please raise your hand. David-san, please.
Hi, it's David Gibson from MST Financial. Thanks very much for the opportunity. 2 questions. The number of corporate or HR employees jumped by 51 people. That's about a 50% increase Q on Q. Could you explain why that is, and is there some impact to that in the future? The second question is on the active accounts. This declined Q on Q across most of your segments, most of the areas. Do you think it would have grown if you were not doing the unauthorized usage measures? And hence, do you think the active accounts will be back growing again in Q3, Q on Q? Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. We received 2 questions. To the first part of your question, the number of employees growth in the second quarter, HR corporate. So a big increase of 51. The reason of the increase was the question, as I understand the question. This is an irregular thing. In the second quarter, in April, we actually hired 41 new college graduates. 41 new college graduates as of April. They are belonging to the HR department as of April. That's why HR corporate increased significantly. On the other hand, these 41 employees, new employees, they will be reassigned to different departments in the future. Most of them will be reassigned to sales. So going forward, you will see a big jump in sales division. And going forward, in terms of the number of employees, we'd like to be aggressive continuously in hiring in order to build further customer base. That policy remains unchanged. And the second part of your question regarding the growth of number of AA without the impact of the measures of unauthorized use, would that have grown? The answer is yes. Because of the impact of the unauthorized use measures, we have had slowdown in terms of capturing the small-scale, mid-sized corporate clients. Without the measures implemented, the growth in the number of active accounts would have been bigger. That's my view.
And can you clarify if Q3 will see that growth return, please?
はい、産休についてですね、
In the third quarter,
先ほどの物流
the logistics
進捗がですね、
steady growth will continue, and also the food industry will see recovery. In terms of the number of slides, this is the slide. There is a sign of recovery for the food industry, so we believe that we are making the utmost efforts to deliver strong growth. At this point in time, based on what's happening, we are not anticipating decline in the future.
Sorry, just to clarify, as per page 15, you are expecting the total number of active client accounts to increase sequentially in Q3.
はい、数で言うと増えます。で、こちら
Yes,
に
in
つい
terms
ては
of the number, it will grow. In the second quarter, there was an off season, but starting third quarter and fourth quarter as well, there is going to be busy seasons. On the Q-on-Q basis, basically this will go up.
ありがとうございました。Thank you very much.
Noguchi-san, please go ahead.
もしもし、聞こえますでしょうか。
Am I coming through? Yes. This is Noguchi from BofA
質問
Securities.
お願いします。まず
I have a
一つが
couple of
産休
questions.
につい
First one
て
is
で、
regarding the third quarter
先ほ
forecast.
どの定性的なところの背景もご説明くださったと
The
思うんですけれ
qualitative
ども、
explanations were given
それを踏
earlier.
まえた
Based
と
on
す
what
る
you
と、こ
have
こで出てきてい
said,
るレンジの数でざっくり、
the
日本や
range
また30%ぐらいのトッ
of
プライン成長が想定なのか
30%
なというと
top
ころ
line
です
growth
が、
is
まあ
what's
少し強い数字
anticipated.
が出てもおかしくないような業界に対しての見方
Well,
なのかなとも思ったり
what
するん
based
で
on
す
what's
が、
happening in the
そ
industry,
の
the
この出
stronger
してくださっている数
expectation
時間
may be
と、その上
possible.
で書いてくださ
So
っている
the
定性的
numbers
な
you
と
are
ころ
showing
の、まあ、そのもう少しこう前
and
提
the
というか、こう
qualitative
つな
explanations
がり
on
という
top
もの
of
をも
the
し
slide,
可能であればご解説いただけれ
if
ばと。
there
まず
is
これが
further
1点目です。
linkage between the two, you can
で
provide,
は
that would
私か
be
ら
very
説
much
明させていただ
appreciated.
きます。
Let me
で、
explain.
おっしゃる通りですね、
To your
先ほどの物
point,
流の受け売り負荷軽減プロジェクト
we have been working on the
実施
project to
や取り
reduce
組
the
みみたいなことを
worker
考えると、
onboarding burden,
もうちょっと
and in the
前ぐらいだったら
logistics,
という
and
こと
also
なんです
there is a
が、
recovery of the food
一方でです
industry,
ね、
and
下
so
期
we
ですね、
could
下
expect
半期
higher
でしっ
growth.
かり伸ば
But
していく
on
と
the
いう
other
ことで、
hand, in the
産
second
休
half,
でいうと、今5
we
月
are expecting
で終わ
further
って6
growth,
月の半ば
and
だった時なので、
right now
基
we
本
are
的
in
に
the
は
middle of
90である
June.
9
Basically, the
月
fourth
に
quarter
ビルドして
from
いくという
August
と
to
ころで、
October,
今
we are
進めている
expecting
ので、
further
産休だけで
growth.
見ると、
And just looking at the
3
third
期が
quarter,
産休に向け
this
て
is
各
what we
来年度
expect.
ですね、
But towards the
に
fourth
出資を
quarter
開拓してい
and
くという
next fiscal
こ
year,
の道
we
筋
are
ところが
working
産
to
休だと思ってい
reaccelerate
て、
So in a way, third quarter is a transitional period. Understood. So the upside could be expected for the fourth quarter. And as of the end of third quarter, you may deliver upside against the full year guidance in the fourth quarter. In terms of the progress rate, the top line net sales, we have had solid progress. But the question of whether we are generating big upside based on the food industry and how much growth we can expect from the logistics industry, well, there are no perfect visibilities. On the other hand, in terms of the operating profit in the first and second quarters, we exceeded the upper end of the range significantly. So as we can control the cost in a disciplined manner, because we are having very good progress at this point in time, in the middle of the second half of the fiscal year, if there is a big gap we anticipate, we'd like to make appropriate actions. Thank you very much. The recent performance of the services. In each industry, there are good aspects and bad aspects. And when we look at the fill rate, the situation is rather favorable. The number of active accounts, although there is a decline, the top line growth is strong at 30%. So the service itself, how it's rated and how it's utilized, I believe the usage and the rating of the services are good. And is that a fair assumption? Yes. In Japan, with labor shortage, we have been able to increase the fill rate, and this is a testament to high satisfaction level of our customers. On top of that, in terms of the take rate, as the competition intensifies, we have been able to improve the take rate. And that means that we believe we have been able to establish solid position. So a follow-up question, based on the strong favorable situations, how you are spending costs, this time around, you haven't spent the cost as anticipated. So you are providing quality services, so you don't need to spend much costs. Even if you spend cost, the macro waves are bigger, so spending additional costs may deteriorate the cost efficiency. Is that how you are looking at the industry? Right. We need to spend the cost where we need to spend the cost. For instance, the strategic commercial area, we believe there is growth potential, significant growth potential. Of course, we have reduced the outsourcing costs. For the areas where we can expect high returns, like the strategic commercial areas, we'd like to intensify and spend strategic investments. And the elderly care as well, there is a growth potential, so we'd like to allocate the sales reps. By doing so, we can grow this business. So we'd like to allocate human resources in the high growth areas and cover the wide regions in Japan. I believe this is going to be very effective, so that's what we are focused on right now. Understood. Thank you very much. Hayashi-san, please go ahead. Am I coming through? Yes, we can hear you. This is Arai from Morgan Stanley. There are several questions. First question is on page 14. The food industry hitting the bottom, number 2. As was explained earlier, would you be able to provide further details where you are seeing the recovery and the sustainability of the recovery? Would you be able to provide more details around that?
Yeah, I'll take that question. So I can't give you the individual company names. However, so the restaurant and also,
利用控えているところもあれば、
the normal.
出店も増え
There
て
are
きつつ、
ones
あと今まで
that are actually
使ってなかった
refraining from the
店舗
usage,
で、
but
朝のタイムを
there
使
are
って、
stores
売
that
り上げ
started
上
to
げていこう
use our
というと
services
ころ
because
で、
they
ラン
want
ニン
to
グを使っ
expand
て
the
いただい
top
ている
line.
会社もやはり多くいますので、そ
And
ちらに
there are many
し
companies
っか
as
り
such.
営業
So
活動
we
のプランを計画してい
want
ただい
to
て、利用価格を
provide more
決
of
めて
the
いる
sales
という
proposal
こ
to
とで
this
すね。こ
side
ち
where
ら
they're
は、
more turning more
大手
sort of
飲食
optimistic in
の
terms
会
of
社さん
outlook.
は、た
This
くさん
is a
の方が
major
入店してますの
restaurant
で、その横
chains.
拡大が進んでいるというとこ
So
ろになります。
basically, the horizontal
で、プラスです
expansion to
ね、
these
通常の飲
existing
食、
major
外食
players
ではない形で
and
の、
non-restaurant
のサブセクターというかカテゴリーのところで、
subsectors, categories
給食関係とかコントラクト業
like
務のところですね。
the food
で、そういった
catering
新し
business.
い、
And these are
ビジネス
like
で
a
の、新
new
規開拓、各、
subsectors we are
方面
trying
で
to
サービス
expand the
商品
customer
等
sales.
に、
And
従
where
事
the time is
を
service
してい
can
くという
be
ところ
makes
で、
has a
そういった
high
ところ
affinity,
を、開拓をしていることによっ
we're
て、
trying to
売上が
cultivate
ざーっ
a
と
new
伸びている
customer base.
というところに
And
なりま
that's
す。
one of the
で、プ
reasons
ラ
why
ス、
we're seeing the
先
sales
ほど
to
の通りですね、
recovering
成長率
to this industry.
の、鈍化っていうのが、大体1年ぐらい、経
And I
って
think
います
the
の
the
で、
slowdown
ってい
in
うのと、あ
growth
と決
is
算期
over 1 year.
は
So
合
it's
成時期になってます
basically
ので、
cycling out,
た
and
休み
now we're
人
in
手
the
の
new
不足
fiscal
で
year.
ですね、お客様人
And
手不足
so
なのに、今まで使
they
えなかっ
have
た。
better
なので、
outlook,
新しい気になっ
and
て使おう
the
と
labor
いう
shortage
ところ
continue
も
to
あり
be
ま
the
すと
case.
いう
So they are
流れになって
willing
います。
to use our services. So
わ
these
かりました。
sort
そう
of
すると、
multiple
まあ、御
factors
社の
are
こう内
at
的
work.
なその営業
I
努力の
see.
結果とし
So
て、
as a
アクティブ
result
アカウン
of
トの数
your
も増
sales
え、そし
effort,
て
the
アクティ
active
ブアカウントあたり
account
の受
number
信料
have
に関しても、
increased,
両方とも増え
and
ている
the
っていうと
transaction
ころが納
volume
得
per
いき
active
いてると
account
い
has
うこと
also
こ
increased,
とですかね。
also
そうですね、
working
改
well
善して
for
ると
this
いうことです
particular
ね。
industry.
わかり
Yes,
ました。ありがとうござい
we're
ます。
seeing the
それとあと
recovery
2点目なんですけ
and
れども、
improvement.
今
And my
日ご
second
説明いただ
question
いたワタ
is
ミさん
as
と
you
のですね、提
mentioned
携モ
about
デル
the
なんですけれど
business
も、
alliance
非
with
常に面
Watami,
白い、取り組
and
み
I
か
think
な
it's
と
a
思います
very
が、このあ
interesting
たり、
initiatives and
店
effort.
舗展開、他の、
And can
会
you
社さん含め
try
た
to
店舗
roll
展
it out
開の
with
可能
other
性とか、そうい
companies?
ったあたりっていうのは
Is
ど
there
うお
any
考えでしょう
potential?
か。
はい、ありがとうございます。こちらのリリ
Thank
ー
you for
ス
the
をした
questions.
結果ですね、大手
Once
飲
we
食店から
actually
様
given
々
this
な
release,
企業様からお問い合わ
so
せいただいているという
major
結果になりますの
restaurant
で、今、
chains have given
どうい
many
うふ
sort
う
of
な状態であればで
inquiries.
きそうなのか、実際
So
私た
which
ちとの
kind
連
of
携どうなっているのか
industries
っていうこと
or
も
the business format
今
is
ご答えいただいているという
more
ふうな形になっておりま
possible
すの
for us
で、
to
正直
conduct
始めた
similar
ばかりということ
business
もあり
model?
ですね、
But really, this model
予
just
想通りのところ
started.
もあれば、うまくい
So
かなか
there
ったとこ
are
ろもあれ
some
ばという
that
と
was
ころ
in
が、
line, and there are
進歩
some
の
that
取り
was
組みになり
out
ま
of
す
our
ので、
expectation. It's
そ
a
の辺が
new
起きているというところの中
initiative,
で、しっかりと
and
形を作ってですね、
so we want
他
to
のブラン
first
ドにも
make
展開で
a
きるよう
business
に今後
model
とし
so
て
that we
理
can
念を持ち
actually
まし
roll it out
て、
to
今
other
後の展開とし
brands.
てはあり得るのかなというふうに思っております。
So I think it's potentially we can roll it out to
あ、
other
ありがとうございます。
companies as well.
これ、最後に
And
しますけ
thank
れ
you.
ども、
And last question from
前
me.
回の説明会の時
Last
に、
time,
特
last
に飲
at the
食に
last
関し
briefing
て、
session, and for
先に使
restaurant
って
or food,
て、常にその 30% っていうのを
and
取るのではなくて、
30%,
ちょっと別のやり方もあるんじゃないかっていうような
and
話
there
が
may be
あった
other
かと
ways
思うん
to
ですが、
charge rather
そのあた
than
りの今の
30%.
お考えとか、進捗と
But
か、
if
そういう
you
のを教えてい
any
ただければと思いま
update
す。
in
以
your
上です。
thinking about that.
ありがとうございます。こちらに
Thank
関し
you.
ましては、
So for that,
順調に準備をしているというふうな
we
状
are
況になっております。
preparing.
プライシングをいじるというところはですね、非常に
It's
難
touching
し
and
い取り組
tweaking
み
on the
になり
pricing
ますの
is a
で、飲
very
食業界
delicate
全
and
体で
difficult.
何か新しい
And
プライシングを作っていくというよりも、今、個社
rather
単
than
位で
trying
で
to
すね、
create
実際に
sort
新
of
しいプ
new
ライシ
pricing
ング
structure
が
for the
どん
food
なパターンがいいの
industry,
かっていう
but
のを
by
フィードバックをも
depending
らいな
on
が
the
ら作っていく
companies,
という
the
期間に
customers,
入っておりま
we
す。
are actually
今後
trying
ですね、
to
年
find
内、
out
年
which
末
will
に
be
です
the
ね、12
best
月の
way.
繁忙期があったりしますの
So
で、そういう
we
と
will
ころ
come
で
up to
の反応
December
を見なが
this
ら、
fiscal
換算
year,
期、
then we would
毎
look
年、
at the
2クォータ
response,
ーだったりとか、
and then
来年
from
2クォ
the the second quarter in next year, that maybe we'll have some visibility in terms of what we exactly will want to do in terms of pricing. So it is really depending on each companies, but if there's a good sign, and we want to sort of share that with you. Thank you. That's all from me.
有沢です。よろしくお願いします。
My name is Arisawa. Thank you.
足元その売上成
So
長率が減速し
currently,
て
the
きている
sales
中
growth
で、
is
中期的に
slowing
は
down.
明るい
And then on the medium
話
term,
もだいぶ進んでいる
there
のか
are
なという
a
印
lot
象
of sort
を
of
受けたんです
good
けれども、
sort of
その
factors
今の
in
そ
terms of the outlook.
の感触
But
として、この売上
the
成長
feeling
率
you
が
have,
再加
the
速して
sales
いく、
growth
またはそ
were
の非連
to
続的な成長と
reaccelerate,
おっしゃってるわ
or
けです
you
が、
mentioned
これ
about
が
this
見えてきて
non-linear
いるの
growth.
か、ど
And
うか。
in fact,
で、
do
あ
you
とは
see that
どち
happening
らが
in
その
terms of non-linear growth?
いつの時間軸、そ
And
の
what is that sort of
どう
time
いうそ
frame?
の時間軸でイメージしていらっしゃる
And
のか。
the image you
という
have
の
in
を、
terms
い
of
わ
the
ゆるそ
time
の
frame of
マク
bringing
ロに
on or
影
more of
響
a
マクロ
non-linear
前提
growth.
はこのまま一定とし
So
た場合に、この
if
今
we are
その
seeing the
社
macro
内で
environment remains the
打っ
same,
てる、こ
then
の打ち手が
internally,
その
what are the sort
数
of
字に
measures
見え
that
て
you
くるのは、
have?
どういった
Where
時間軸でしょう
exactly
かという
these
ところをお願いできま
what
す
you're
か。
doing at these numbers
はい、
will
ありがとうご
actually
ざいます。
surface in terms of your
そう
financial
ですね、複
numbers.
合的になっていると
It
いうふうに
is
思っておりま
a
して、
very sort of
シンプ
complicated,
ル
it's a
な販売
combination
と
of
サービ
things.
スでありながらですね、セグメントによって
While
全
it's
然
a
状況が違い
simple
ますの
spot
で、
work,
それ
but
に
by
応じて
segment,
お
it's
話を
very
できればというふうに
difficult.
思っ
So
ております。
different.
まず
So
です
let me
ね、物
explain
流業
by
界に関しましては、
segment.
こち
So
らの
first in the
セールス
logistics
カーというプロジェ
segment,
クトってところが、
and
非常に
because
うま
of
くいっ
this
ているというふう
project
な
to
状況になってお
lower
り
the
ますの
burden
で、
of worker
このパイロット
onboarding,
で
and
すね、
that's been working
20
well.
拠点がすでに始まってい
And
ます
so
ので、それが
we
40拠点
start
すで
with
に到達してい
20,
て、
and
こ
then
こから拡
already
大をす
we're
ればですね、
receiving
80
requests
拠
from
点、100拠点
40,
ということがで
and
きる
then
か
it
な
will
とい
be
うふうに思って
increasing
ます
to
ので、
80 or even to
物流
100
並びに、製
locations.
造食
So
品製造みたいな
logistics
業界です
and
ね、非常
maybe
に近い
food
地域業界での
process
成長とい
manufacturing.
うところは見込まれていくんじゃ
So
ないかという
we
ふう
can
に思っ
expect
ておりま
sort of
す。
potential growth
今
for
お話し
these
ましたが、
areas.
物流のみならずですね、食品製
And
造
not
の成
only
長もこのプロジェク
logistics,
トに入れる可能
food
性があるという
manufacturing
ふうに思って
and
まして、最
manufacturing
近か
can
なりまだ
also
まだ売
be
上
put
低
on
い
this
インダストリーになっ
project
てま
for
すの
the
で、今後の成
reducing the
長の
burden of worker
今
onboarding.
期3
And
年
our
というふうな状
penetration
況でです
number
ね、
is low
最
for
新の業
those
界を待ってい
segments.
る
So
ということがありま
we
す。なの
think there's
で、
two other
一
sectors
人
can
でで
be
すね、ここら辺の領域は
potential
進
to
むんじゃない
roll
か
out
というふうに思っておりま
this
す。
service.
で、2つ目がですね、
And
求人
second
媒
point
体に
is
近いよう
on
なです
the
ね、採用
and
を主
onboard
なセールスフォー
sorry
スと用いているような飲食店だったりとか、コンビニエンスス
the
トアだ
other
ったりとか、
companies
さ
convenience
まざま
stores
な
that
業
has like
界で
job
のプ
board
ライシングモデル
and
再設計という
pricing
ところに関し
model
ましては、まだまだ不
re-establishment
透明性が高い
redesigning
状況になっ
and
ていま
there
す
are
が、
still a lot of
1000
uncertainties
万人を超えるですね、労働人口の
but
15%
over
が
10
使うようなサービ
million
スに今進化してきてお
workers
りま
but
すの
we
で、
have
隙間バイ
you
ト
know
の
a lot
枠
of
を
them
優位に
15%
超
to
えてですね、
20% of them use our
採
services so
用のために使っていくだったりとか、
and
まさにそうい
use
うふうな
for the
形でも
hiring
変化を
purposes
起
and
こせるよう
that's
な状況になっ
also
てきていると
we
いうふ
think
う
we're
に
coming to
思って
going
おり
into
ま
a
して、
new phase
現にですね、
where
隙間バイ
our
トをされ
service
ている
may
方
start
々
to
にアンケート取っ
change
ても半分
those
近く
who
が、
are
その人に
already
仕事
working
があ
on
れば
spot
長期採
work
用されたい、
if
長期で勤めたいと
half of
いう
them
方
are
お答えい
willing
ただいておりま
to
すので、
or
そういう方
wanting
々
to
に
work
しっかり
more
と
of a
したような
longer
ものづく
time
りができ
frame.
るかどうかというの
So
が、
if we can
チ
come
ャレ
up
ンジ
with a
な状況
product
になっておりま
or
す
the
ので、
platform that
今
also
年も
suffices the need
しっか
for
りと
these
検討した
people.
上で、
So within this
来
year, we
年
would
で
like
す
to
ね、
carry out
2クォーター、
the
少なくとも、
sort of
16期の方で
considerations.
何かしら、
And in the second quarter, maybe in the
数日
second
の
half
プラ
of
スが見
next
込ま
year,
れるといいのかなという
and
ふう
we
に
may be
思
able
って
to
おりま
show
す。
you
で、3つ目のと
with
ころのセク
numbers.
ターがですね、
And the
非
third
連続
point,
的成長と位置づけているような、プロジェクトか
non-linear
なという
growth,
ふうに思っております。
the project
一つは
related to
介
that.
護の業界に関し
One
ては、
is
有資格者が
elderly
いるに
care.
もかかわらずですね、非常に
It
高い
is
成長率を保
the
ってい
one
る
we
という
need
ふうにな
to
っておりま
have
すので、そういうところは積極
licensed
的に成長を持っていこう
workers,
と
but
いうふうに思
even
って
then
ま
we
す
have a
し、
very
そ
high
れ以外
fill
にもです
rate
ね、さまざまなインダストリー 並
and
びに、
other
新しい新規
industries
事業、例えばキャリアプ
and
ラス
new
という
businesses
事業もです
For example, we have a Career Plus business, and that is steadily expanding. So within time, so 30% growth, then 60 or 200% or 100% growth, third businesses or so therefore year-on-year increase can be even further. These can contribute to higher growth also. Thank you.
2つ目ですけど、これちょっとごめんなさい。
Second
私
question
の理解がちゃんとして
is
ないだけかも
maybe
しれま
my
せんが、
understanding
この
may
不正
not
利
be
用
up to the speed,
の
but
影響
for
で
the
先ほど
illegal usage,
2級の売り上げ
and I think
が
the
っていう
second
話
quarter
があった
sales
り、そ
number
の
was
NA
impacted,
獲得に
or
影響があったという
active
話があ
account,
り
there
ま
was
した
a
が、
negative
これ
impact
は
on
基本
terms
的
of
には
active
もう
client
長期に
account.
なったら
But
この影
this,
響
in the
は
second
まあ
half
なく
of
な
this year,
ると考
the
えていいの
impact
か、
will be
あ
eliminated,
と来期に
and also into the
向け
next
て
fiscal year, first quarter of next fiscal year, in terms of operational efficiency, can we expect the operation efficiency to increase? In other words, for first and second quarter of next year, can we take it that year-on-year comparison hurdle is low? That's my question.
Thank you very much. With regard to the impact of the measures against unauthorized use, this is a summary slide of that impact. We have to make sure we check the identity documents and checking the job postings. With regard to what it could have an impact on the sales, well, we are not allowing the illegal users to use our platform, and we are implementing thorough check system. We are requesting submission of the identity confirmation documents, and because of these additional processes, somewhere in the middle of the funnel, they are dropping from the processes and that are not leading to our sales. And so for the existing portion, I believe this is a temporal, but for the new clients, going forward, we will always have the document checking process, and so the impact will continue. But the question is whether the negative impact will continue for good. While at a company level, we are working to improve the funnel quality, so the impact will be minimized. And we would like to standardize this process. Not only us, Timee, but overall industry have been working on this. With the labor shortage, they still have to secure labor, and this should be the standard process. And we believe that we can shrink the funnel decrease. And in the first quarter of next fiscal year, we'd like to make sure that there is no significant negative impact. We are doing everything we can within this fiscal year towards that end. So for the existing part, the countermeasures will be completed within this year. The impact was biggest in the first half. With regard to the new acquisition, the productivity has gone down slightly compared to what was in the past, but the improvements will be obtained in the next fiscal year. Is that the right way to understand what you have explained? Yes. Thank you very much. Okumura-san, please go ahead. Thank you. This is Okumura from Okasan Securities. Can you hear me? Yes. There are a couple of points. Just to confirm your response to the previous questions. First question is, second half onwards, how you're thinking about the marketing spend. In the first half, the OP margin improved and the fill rate improved. The marketing efficiency was improved. Based on this performance in the third quarter, and especially in the fourth quarter, more than the original plan, are you discussing spending more on marketing? Or in order to expand the industries you cover, you have been making investment, but what specifically, what are the specific investments you are making on this front? Let me answer to the first part of your question. In the second half of this fiscal year, basically the margin, if you look at the margin in the third and fourth quarters of last year, starting the second quarter, there is slightly lower, but the profits were generated in a steady manner, and marketing spend, it's about the middle range. Well, compared to the first quarter, we are not spending as much on marketing. So in the first half, first and second quarters, in terms of the profits, we exceeded the plans. If we keep working on this, we should be able to end the year strongly. And on the other hand, we'd like to keep driving the sales to deliver non-linear growth. As Ogawa mentioned, we are looking to increase the sales reps, especially in the growth areas identified. We'd like to invest human resources, and also we are investing on marketing as well. These are the two growth investments we are making rather dynamically. So the second half profits and full year profits, we'd like to see the balance. And in the areas where improvement is necessary, we'd like to be disciplined. And in the growth areas, we'd like to be aggressive in making investments. Thank you very much. Thank you for the answer. And the second question is, this is again to confirm what you have said, the project to reduce the burden of worker onboarding in the busy season, in the fourth quarter this fiscal year and next fiscal year, logistics and manufacturing industries. Is this the project to expect lower number of resources, or what are the potentials should we expect from this project for this fiscal year as well as for the next fiscal year? This is going well, but the number of locations is still small, limited. So as we expand the number of locations towards the end of this fiscal year, in the fourth quarter or the first quarter of next fiscal year, there will be tangible outcomes. But in terms of degree of impact, the impact may be minor, but already this is what we have been proposing to the existing logistic customers. Churn rate will be lowered, and in the busy seasons, we'll be in a stronger position where customers can rely on us. So we would like to keep making investments in this project as we deem necessary. Understood. Thank you very much. Any other questions? I would like to be brief with 3 minutes remaining. On your balance sheet, there is a provision for possible loan losses that has been decreasing, and cash flow as well because of the reversal of the provision. It seems good, but can you comment on that? The provision for the possible loan losses, there was a one-time provision. Well, we guarantee based on our model, and we will focus on the clients with good credit. So going forward, we are not seeing substantial risks on this front. And as a company, we are closely monitoring the situation. In terms of the cash flow from the previous fiscal year, well, on a full year basis last year, there was a positive number, and we are not expecting the number to go in red. And we believe that this solid, strong status will be maintained into the future. Thank you very much. Any other questions? We'd like to wrap up the Q&A session here. Now we'd like to close the financial briefings, financial results briefing for the second quarter of the FY25. Thank you very much for your participation.